There isn't a single timeline where the movie Selfie Man or Selfie from Hell is good. Not a single timeline. I'm sure there's a timeline where Hitler was a good guy and became a great artist, but not for Selfie Man. Nope, this movie is so bad that it deserves not a single timeline where it's good. Mainly because it's called Selfie Man, and how can you ever make a good movie and name it Selfie Man? It's not possible. Because the title spells it out immediately. You know it's gonna be a garbage fire just because it's called Selfie Man. Or Selfie from Hell. I'm not sure which title it is. Originally it was called Selfie from Hell, but they changed it to Selfie Man. For the YouTube version, I'm not sure why, but if you look up Selfie Man, it's the same movie. Maybe the word hell was just too adult for YouTube. Who knows? Nobody is going to watch Selfie Man expecting a quality piece of cinema. I'm sorry. It was put up on YouTube Movies on September 3rd, 2019, and it has 2 likes. 2 likes! I mean, I'm kind of surprised they aren't dislikes, but damn. And it has 2 comments. The first comment was, "What's up, guys?" to literally nobody. And the second comment is, "Damn, no comments?" And comments is spelled with a Z, because that's the type of person that spends their time watching a movie called Selfie Man. In the trailer, they show some glowing reviews, one of which says, "Creepiest, spine-tingliest flick by the prestigious Starcasm." If you go to their website, they describe themselves as an entertainment, celebrity, pop culture, and true crime website with a passion for reality television. What can we say? We love a good story. Apparently not, because you like this movie. And their name is Starcasm, which leads me to believe that they're being sarcastic with this review. And I'm not even sure what spine-tingliest means, but okay. And then there's a film that will make you think twice about being so damn vain by iHorror. But if you go to their website, it's less of a review and more of a, hey, this thing exists. Thanks, John Squires. I'm sure nobody ever read this except for me. So you're welcome for the one reader. So I guess now we're at the part when we talk about the movie. Great. Let me get the only thing I liked about this movie out of the way. It's 75 minutes long. Yeah, it's got a pretty short runtime. So thank God for that. There are 3 main characters in this film. There's Julia, Hanna, and Trevor. So there's not a whole lot to digest, thank fuck. So the movie immediately starts with a really bad YouTube video. So that's kind of interesting. Apparently the character Julia is a YouTuber in this movie. I guess she's kind of like a female Shane Dawson. You know, she talks about conspiracies and the dark web and all that stuff. But this time she crossed the line by talking about a selfie from hell. You know, if you take a certain amount of selfies, you'll die. You shouldn't talk about that or the dark web's gonna come after you.
Hi everybody, welcome. Today I want to talk with you about, yeah, you guessed it right, selfies.
It's so corny, you know, she puts these red contacts in and she's like, "Selfie from hell." And I almost thought that this was going to be like one of those spoof movies, you know, kind of making fun of the horror genre, like a parody type thing, but it's not. So that was kind of a letdown. So then we're introduced to Hanna, Julia's cousin. She goes to pick up Julia, and she's acting a little bit strange. She's looking at her phone and being all weird about it. Hanna's like, "Oh, let's take a selfie." Huh? Get it? Because the movie's called Selfie from Hell, or Selfie Man. I'm not sure which one I like more. I'm pretty sure Selfie Man is worse, but not by much. Hanna tries to take a selfie, and Julia's like, "No, don't do it. It's evil."
Smile. No.
So that's your first indicator that selfies are bad, for whatever reason. So they get to Hanna's house, Julia goes upstairs, and she's crying and looking at her phone. Obviously something's going wrong, but strangely one of her tears falls like horizontally across her face. You would assume that this would be explained later, but it isn't. It just kind of happens to be creepy. So Hanna's downstairs making tea, and Julia's upstairs taking selfies of herself, and then she starts recording herself, like vlogging style, and then someone comes and grabs her. Which is weird because I thought it was supposed to happen when you're taking a selfie. It's not really the same thing. I mean, maybe in this world, a selfie is also recording yourself. Who knows? Nothing is really explained in this movie. I'm just gonna put that out there right now, and it's really fucking stupid. Hanna hears Julia scream, so she runs upstairs, and Julia is laying on the ground passed out. So who was that was behind her? Oh my god, that must have been the Selfie Man, even though she was recording herself. But let's just ignore that. So Julia's asleep now, and she stays asleep for the remainder of the film. We're, 7 minutes in? And that was basically all she does in the entire movie. Now she's just asleep. So Hanna calls a doctor. The doctor comes and takes a look at Julia. And he's like, oh, she has an infection. Just let her rest and she'll be fine.
I'll give you antibiotics. She needs to take one every 8 hours.
Yes, doctor. Sounds good. I'll be here for Hanna. I'll make sure she gets her medicine. Just kidding. I won't give it to her once in the entire movie.
She's got a bad infection.
What kind of infection? Where is it? Can you be any more specific, please? That might help a little bit. Just an infection in her entire body? She's just an infection, I guess. Okay. Okay. The rest of the movie just follows around Hanna. So Selfie Man does this thing where he sends like gibberish to people over text, and it has the number 13 in it. Because in this movie, if you take 13 selfies, you die. And that's as far as the explanation goes. So Selfie Man sends a gibberish text to Hanna using Julia's phone. And then Hannah's like, oh, she must be awake now. So she goes upstairs and she's still asleep. And she's like, oh my goodness, who did that? Who sent that text? That's weird. But then she just kind of forgets about it. So she's outside reading a book and she receives a voice memo text thing from Julia. And again, it's a bunch of gibberish. But this time you can hear it. So then Hannah's like, oh, now something really weird is happening. She goes up to see Julia, and surprise, surprise, she's still asleep. Near the beginning of the movie, Julia was trying to access this weird, like, darknet website using her phone. Hanna, being a weirdo, was snooping on her and saw .onion at the end. Not to mention, Hanna was snooping on Julia's phone while she was driving and somehow was able to remember the URL. Like, how snoopy can this bitch be? And keep your eyes on the road! You're gonna kill yourself before Selfie Man can! Ruin the plot of this masterpiece. So Hanna thinks that Julia's phone is hacked somehow, so she Googles .onion and she finds out that it's all about the dark web. I'm entering the exact same URL that Hanna entered in her computer to see where it goes, because I'm just curious. And it leads nowhere. Cool. So she does all this stuff to try and access the dark web to try and find out what's going on with Julia's phone. So Hanna goes to sleep. There's this random shot of, like, the power lines outside. I'm guessing to, like, signal that something is headed her way via the internet or something. It was very weird. So Hanna gets another video message while she's sleeping, and it's of Julia sleeping. But what if Hanna just didn't wake up, you know? What if she didn't look at her phone? So she goes to check on Julia. She finds that the windows in Julia's room are open. She goes downstairs and oh my god, the front door's open. So what, did someone just come inside to open Julia's windows and to send a video message of her sleeping to Hanna to scare her? Is that the idea? Hanna searches around downstairs and finds nothing except for the windows open because this intruder just really wants to, you know, make them cold. And how he was able to go inside and open the windows and all this stuff without Hanna hearing when she was asleep for like literally 1 second. The next day, Hanna video messages her friend Trevor, who's this computer programmer. And it looks like this is probably like mid-afternoon. She's all ready, you know, she's showered, she has makeup on. She didn't check on her friend who's been asleep for like, 48 hours at this point with an unknown infection? Like they could be dead in your bed. So then Hanna goes to Julia's channel and watches her videos. Apparently Julia's channel is called Julia's World. So I'm gonna look that up just to see if it really exists. And it turns out that there's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There are a lot of channels called Julia's World. So for whatever reason, Hanna thinks that this video that Julia was making about the darknet is what led her to have this infection.
I'm talking about the place your parents always feared could exist. The darknet.
I'm not sure how she made that connection, but whatever. So then Hannah's like, well, where's Selfie from Hell Part 2? You know, she's supposed to have uploaded Part 2, but it's not there. That's weird. How she would have made that correlation between what's happening with her phone and Julia's weird infection and her YouTube channel makes no sense to me. So she looks her up online and finds out that, wow, turns out she's dead. It was posted all over the internet that Julia Lange is a dead person. How the hell did Hanna not know this? If Julia Lange was dead, you would assume that her cousin would be one of the first people to learn about this? I guess not. The bizarre death of Julia Lange. So does that mean that this person that came to visit her is just like a ghost? Or did she die when she was upstairs recording herself? Please explain something to me, movie. So then she finds this video of Julia dead online and she watches it and she just like looks at the camera. Hannah's just like, oh my God, it's so scary. So Hanna goes to Julia's room and she's like, wake up, Julia! And she's not waking up. So Hanna tries to access Julia's computer, but she can't log in as Julia, so she logs in as a guest. And then she looks up Julia Lange again on this computer and finds these dead images a second time. So apparently she's dead, but she's not dead because she's in bed with an infection. What's going on? What's happening? Oh my God, the mystery. So Hanna puts her hand on Julia's face, takes it away, and then it has blood all over it. I don't know what this means. Like, is she seeing things? Is Julia actually dead as a corpse in her bed and she's just not seeing it? Is there some sort of ghost doing this? What's happening? What is happening? So she goes to wash her hands and oh my God, there's no blood on my hand. Wait, what? Why? It's just like spooky stuff just to be spooky. So Hanna talks to Trevor and she's like,
there's something wrong with her and I don't know what, but I think it's got something to do with her darknet research. But I must have written down the numbers wrong. I tried Googling it and I couldn't find it. I wrote it down. Maybe you could have a look at it.
And Trevor's like, oh, you can't go back to the same website because there's no search engines in the dark web. So then Hannah's like, okay, fine. Since you can't help me, I'm leaving. And then he's like, oh, fuck. I want to get my dick wet. But she's leaving, what can I do? So for whatever reason, this weirdo, Trevor, has access to a chat room that can give access to the dark net. That's kind of weird. So are you telling me this guy has gotten involved with the dark net? And for what reason? I guess she just doesn't care to know. The first chat room she tries has a gatekeeper, whatever that means. And it's so cheesy. It shows this woman's face and she's like, oh, what's your name? Wrong answer. What's this? Wrong answer.
What is your darkest desire? Steal makeup. Wrong answer.
And it's basically just a way to try and get her to give her personal information away. And she falls for it because Hanna is the dumbest person on earth. And at the bottom of the email, Trevor's like, oh, but just ignore the ones with the gatekeepers. So then why did he include the chat rooms with the gatekeepers? So she tries all these different chat rooms and eventually she gives her email away to a random person online because that's what you always want to do when you're perusing the internet, especially the dark web. He then emails her. She clicks on the link that they send her like an idiot, a complete moron. Like, have you ever used a computer in your life? Like, how the fuck It's mind-boggling. How her computer isn't already, like, riddled with malware is beyond me. Trevor even told her not to give away any personal information, and she's like, okay, whatever. I'll just give him my stuff. Here's my email. This dark web guy then calls her, and he tells her that Julia's boyfriend is dead.
I'll call you when Julia is dead.
Her boyfriend is done.
You're next.
But that's kind of weird because Hanna was on the computer and it said that she was already dead. So is she not dead now? Was that just to scare people? I'm so confused. Was the selfie man just like altering Hanna's perception of the internet? So dumb, I don't know what's going on. So Hanna tries to call Julia's boyfriend's cell phone.
Hi, my name's Hanna. I was just wondering if I could speak to Mark. Excuse me?
They don't say that he's missing, but she acts like she has found out that he was dead. Hanna looks up and Julia is awake suddenly.
Julia.
It's so stupid. Honestly, this part just made me laugh. Like, look at her just sitting there, smiling. I know it's supposed to be creepy, but it's so dumb. Why is she awake all of a sudden? Then she just goes back to sleep. So Trevor randomly calls her at this exact moment. So Hanna answers and she's like,
I need you to come over.
You'd assume Hanna would call the police if she had this guy over the dark net threatening her. You know, you would assume that she would want some real security around her, especially if Julia's acting really weird. So Trevor comes over, and now he decides to tell Hanna about the black rooms and the red rooms. You'd assume that he would tell her this before, sending the email, because this is kind of crucial information. So apparently a red room is when a bunch of people on the darknet sit around and watch something horrible happen to someone. And the black room is when you participate in something horrible that's happening, that the people in the red rooms are watching online. And apparently Julia entered a black room by accident. Trevor hacks into Julia's computer, and they find the video, Selfie from Hell Part 2. Oh my goodness, spooky. So in this video, Julia's like, oh, well, I did some digging and it led me to the darknet and I met this guy named Fear Eater, and it turns out that he's a bad guy. I shouldn't have trusted him, she says. I shouldn't have trusted someone named Fear Eater. And yeah, I'm just gonna say it, Fear Eater, that's cringe. And come on, what are the odds that Julia and Hanna just happened to stumble across the same exact person on the darknet? What?
He knew exactly what he was doing when he gave us the URL to the black room.
Yeah, no shit. You meet some sketch-ass guy named Fear Eater, and he gives you a link to something. Oh, I wonder if we should click on it. These people are so stupid. It's just, a 7-year-old would have more common sense than these adults. It's laughable. I have to board a flight. I'm going to meet him, she says. Yeah, that's what you should do. Don't go to the police. Don't try and get protection for yourself. She says, oh, he promised he'd help save Mark. Like, what? Why would you believe this guy? I'm baffled how stupid Julia is.
I'm afraid I can't trust him.
I'm afraid I can't trust him. No shit! No shit! You dumb bitch! Okay, this next part is so stupid. And then she says, if you ever find yourself in a black room, no matter what, do not watch all 13 selfies. I think she misspoke. I think she meant to say, do not take 13 selfies, because why would you watch all 13 selfies? I'm very confused by that. If you take the 13 selfies and your screen cracks, then that means you're in trouble.
Something evil has already set his eyes on you.
That means that the selfie man is after you. But it only happens if you get invited to a black room and you take 13 selfies and your screen cracks. It's very important for all those steps to be taken. Why does this happen? Nobody fucking knows. Like, there's literally zero explanation to why this happens. I guess 13's an evil number because of Friday the 13th. That's the only real connection I can make to it. So Trevor spends the night at Hanna's place. Hanna wakes up in the middle of the night to see Julia floating above her. So Trevor is sleeping downstairs, but somehow he gets to Hanna's room in like 1 second. He hears her scream and he's instantly in the room. He instantly gets there. Trevor was probably just like chilling outside of her room this whole time, hoping that she would like text him and be like, come in, I want to snuggle. Because he's so thirsty. So they finally bring Julia to the emergency room, even though she was practically in a coma this whole time, and apparently her organs were failing.
Her organs, they're failing. They don't know what the cause is.
So thank God she did this creepy shit or she'd be dead. I mean, according to the internet, she already is dead, but I don't know what's going on anymore. They say that she probably won't make it till the morning. Well, maybe if Hanna was at least 1% responsible, they should have brought her to the emergency room right away. Obviously, they need a second opinion if this weird-ass doctor just says, oh, she has an infection, okay, bye. So then Trevor's like, oh, do you want to go in and say goodbye to your cousin that's dying? And she probably won't make it till the morning? And Hannah's like, lol, no.
She probably won't make it till the morning.
You think I care about her? I just let her sit in my bed for like 3 days straight, when she was clearly not feeling well. Hanna then tells Trevor that he has to leave, for whatever reason. But why though? Why would you want him to leave? You would assume you'd want some sort of protection right now. If all this crazy shit is happening and someone over the darknet is doing weird shit, I need to be alone right now because the movie needs me to be alone right now. Like, there's literally no other reason. Obviously, she would want to be with someone right now. Why would she ask him to leave after what just happened? Especially if he's the only person with any sort of knowledge about the dark net. Whoever wrote this script is very bad. Oh yeah, it's the same person that directed the movie. Makes sense now. So Fear Eater calls her again and he asks for her address and promises not to hurt her, even though he didn't even need her address because he breaks into her place. Was he just asking to see if she would give it to him? And for whatever reason, she still doesn't call the police. Hanna just does not like the police. My life's in danger. Oh shit! But yeah, the police, I don't know. Probably not. So she accidentally pours sugar on the ground and draws a smiley into it. So stupid. And then the selfie ghost thing makes it into a frown. And then she looks at it again and it's an arrow. And she looks where the arrow is pointing and oh my god, it's Fear Eater. He's breaking into my place. Thanks, Selfie Man, for showing me the direction where he was breaking in. Very helpful. Why would the ghost do this? Was that Julia's ghost doing that? I don't know. She escapes into the basement and then Julia pops up on a screen and tells her to run. So I guess it was Julia's ghost. So Julia is dead then. Great. Hanna gets tased. This is a really powerful taser and it knocks her out. So she wakes up and she's tied up. Fear Eater starts taking selfies of Hanna. Even though they aren't technically selfies because he's taking them. But who knows the real rules. Apparently someone else can take your selfies for you and it can be a recording. You can record yourself and that counts as a selfie too. As long as there's 13 of them. If you take 13, you die for whatever reason. It comes across so silly when Fear Eater's describing the selfie man guy. He's like,
Sometimes it takes him days, other times just hours before he comes for you. But I do know that he gets you immediately once you've taken 13 selfies.
so is he gonna kill you anyway? Do you not have to take the selfies? Or do the selfies just like speed up the process, you know? You take 13 of them and then he gets you immediately. But if you don't take 13, then he just kind of takes his time, you know? Then he gets you in a couple hours or a couple days. That makes no fucking sense. So Fear Eater explains to Hanna that when he found out about Selfie Man, he searched lots of forums to try and find the black room featuring the cursed selfies.
And when I finally found the black room, even I was too afraid to look at all the pictures.
So when Julia said, don't watch the selfies earlier, did she actually mean don't watch the selfies? Is it just like a live stream of 13 selfies on loop? Is that what Fear Eater showed Hanna earlier? There aren't any concrete rules, you know? It's so frustrating. So Trevor, being the weirdo that he is, you know, he decides to break into Hanna's place, and wow, it just happened that she was in a really dire situation, and he got there just in time to tase Fear Eater. Oh, thanks, Trevor! Even though you're creepy as shit, what if Fear Eater wasn't even there? That means you would have just broken into her place, and she would have been like, what the fuck? I guess he just really wants to get laid. Was he just really concerned about her? So he wanted to freak her out even more by breaking in?
We have to search his laptops. He's been researching for years. He must know something.
So then Trevor's like, oh my god, it's not a server. This whole thing is running on a cell phone. Trevor explains that he watched the selfies because he had to find out what was going on. And whose selfies are they? I can't believe I'm trying to make sense out of a movie based around a ghost that kills you if you look at selfies or take them, or it's such a stupid premise. I can't believe this exists. What? They triangulate the cell phone and then they go to that location and it's in this dark, creepy warehouse with no lights, because it's always gotta be in a dark, creepy warehouse with no lights. So they look around for a while and eventually they find a photo album and a video camera. On this video camera, it's this doctor, and he's talking to this patient who was once a serial killer. And apparently he's catatonic, but then he randomly wakes up and he starts doing all this ghost shit, flinging him around the room, and the camera goes crazy. So who is that? Was that Selfie Man? Was that Fear Eater? I guess we'll never know. It's all a mystery. In this photo album, there's a bunch of selfies of this goth dude with a bunch of people. I'm guessing that's the serial killer guy? I don't know. So they finally get to the location of the cell phone. Trevor calls the number and they hear it up in the ceiling and they're like, what the hell?
Where is it?
And then a body falls from the ceiling. It's a hanged man. So someone or something stuffed him and his cell phone up in the ceiling. So did he hang himself first and then the selfie man stuffed him up there? Did someone force him to hang himself? Was Fear Eater involved in this at all? Is this goth guy the selfie man? Like, was this how it all started? because he took 13 selfies with these random people? I'm just trying so hard to put these pieces together in my mind because this movie doesn't help me at all. And how did the body fall from the ceiling? Did the phone vibration make it fall? It's so stupid. So Hanna touches the hanged man's lips and she's like, oh my God, his lips are wet. He must have died pretty recently. So then the selfie man ghost comes out of nowhere and attacks Hanna. It's really, really bad CGI. It's so terrible. And then Trevor's like, oh my God, who attacked Hanna? So then he starts taking selfies of himself to find the selfie man. But how does Trevor know to take selfies of himself to find the selfie man? Hanna never told him this. He did watch Julia's YouTube video where she's like, well, don't look at the 13 selfies. But she didn't say anything about taking 13 selfies. Maybe he overheard Fear Eater talking about it. I don't know. So then Hannah's like, oh, I just woke up and I somehow survived that attack. So what I'm gonna immediately do when I wake up is take a selfie. Oh my God. It's so idiotic. Like, why don't you try to escape? Run away. Why are you taking a selfie? What? So then the hanged man wakes up randomly. He uses the force, basically, to pull Trevor towards him, and he starts choking Trevor. Hanna runs up and tries to free him. The hanged man's like, okay, I guess I'll start choking you now. So he lets go of Trevor and starts choking Hanna. The hanged man lets go of her at the last second, and then just goes back to his normal dead self. Okay then. Why is the selfie man not killing them? She took the 13th selfie. What's with all this foreplay? I don't understand. And then there's this random scene of Julia and Hanna at a picnic. Apparently it's a dream, but it's very confusing for the viewer because the last time we saw Hanna, she wasn't asleep. So Trevor comes out of nowhere. Trevor's just like strolling by randomly and he's like, oh hey. So he walks up and they have a kiss. And then he turns into the hanged man. And then we get an awful voiceover. That's like,
do you know when he pulls you to the other side, you cannot be saved?
It'll be a long and painful death.
But if he's pulled you to the other side, doesn't the other side indicate death? So if you're already dead, then how will it be a long and painful death? Does he just keep like reincarnating you? Does he just keep bringing you back to life and killing you over and over? Like he did with the hanged man? I guess that would kind of be a long and painful deaths. You know, plural. I don't know what else they could mean by that, but okay then. Okay, so after watching the movie twice, which sucked already, I think I finally understand what's going on, kind of. So there's this random serial killer that they show at the end in the videotape. I'm assuming he's the hanged man, and I'm assuming he's the guy in the photo album. And he took selfies with the people that he murdered, and there's 13 of them. And then he killed himself. And so he became the selfie man. That made it so if you take 13 selfies, or look at the selfies, or record yourself, there's really no concrete rules, but if you do this, then he will come out of nowhere and kill you. But it's very important that you go to the dark net and go into a black room, and then your phone screen cracks. It's very important for all these steps to be taken. It's so bad. Speaking of creepy stuff, you can go to alienclothing.com because we got some really interesting and creepy clothing over there that you might like. And thank you to all my patrons for keeping this channel alive. I love you guys so much. If you guys know of any other really awful horror movies that I should review, put them in the comment section down below and I might check it out. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.